Your mind responds to the pictures and words. The fastest way to change anything is to change the pictures and words. And it's such an easy thing to do. I'm terrified, I'm elated. I'm useless, I'm amazing. I have no memory, my memory is compelling. I can't speak to people. What I have to say is easy. I find it easy to speak to anyone. This is the most vexing rule of the mind for every therapist and coach in the room. It's the one my clients have the hardest time with. Your mind loves what is familiar. If your mind could choose, it would stay with what's familiar and never go to what's unfamiliar. We're in a walled city. And that's interesting because years ago at night, they shut the door and we stayed in the wall. We didn't think, do you know, I feel like going for a midnight stroll. I think I'll wander. I'm a bit bored of being in this same old. I want some variety. I think I'll open the gate, wander off and find another tribe. They might have killed you or eaten you. We learned familiar made us safe. Who here notices with their kids when they're little, they want the same cup, the same bowl, the same cereal? I took my daughter to Finland to see Santa Claus. She watched Little Mermaid in Finnish the whole time. And that was okay in Finnish because she knew, she'd watched it 110 times. Where I'm like, babe, here's Father Christmas, here's only Mummy. I want to watch The Little Mermaid. It's like, well, next time we'll just stay home and watch a movie then. She did actually get into it, but it made her feel good. She used to play this game. She had so many Barbies, and Ken would come up in his car, and he always picked the same one. He never picked another one to go to the ball because they like familiar. It makes them safe. You know, how many kids you have, they want the same story every night. But familiar also makes us safe. So here's a rule of the mind, and it's a very important rule to put into practice. My mind likes what is familiar, and it doesn't like what's unfamiliar. Okay. But I can make anything negative unfamiliar and anything positive familiar. Let's start with praise. It's the most simple, but the most powerful. I meet clients who are never praised. I met one girl whose dad said, "You're so rubbish, just like your mother. God knows what you've got going. If any man asks you out, snap them up because you are nothing. You're not interesting, you're not attractive, and you get pregnant, you'll blow up just like her and be a big fat mess. So if anyone wants to be with you, I can't imagine why. Take them." And she heard that a lot. So she had this interesting belief, I've got nothing to offer the world. And I did a lot of work with her, and she went out, it was just amazing. It was like magic. This guy came up, and he asked me out, and he was so nice. I mean, he actually made another date, and he picked me up in his car and took me out for dinner, told me I was amazing. I'm never seeing him again. I'm like, really? She went, no, he was too good for me. I'm like, oh, let's change that wording to his behavior was so unfamiliar. I don't recognize praise or niceness or somebody believing I'm worth something, and I want to run back to the familiar guys I have to beg to take me out, or seeing my friends, I pay the bill, and they remind me of my dad. And I'm like, well, guess what? You're not supposed to have sex with your dad. So there's a clue. If someone is like your dad, I don't think you should be getting into bed with them. And I think you need to make that unfair. People like it when you make them laugh. So she went, right. So I said, you need to go out with this guy, and this is what you do. You keep saying, I will make this familiar. He rings me when he says he will. I make it familiar. He texts me. I'll make it familiar. I will make it familiar. And she ended up marrying him. She's very happy. She said, how weird. The other guy called me and said, what happened to me? She went, what, the guy who never called me? You never called me, so I just let you go. So you have to say, let's do it with all of you. How many of you find praise a little unfamiliar? How many of you find praising yourself even more unfamiliar? Okay, so if you're never praised and you're criticized a lot, and criticism is familiar, when someone goes, wow, I love that t-shirt, you go, I got it free, it's got a hole in it, I've had it 8 years. I loved your speech, didn't you notice I missed out the best bit? No, I thought it was amazing. I hear you're the best salesperson in your team. Yeah, but not in my county, there's another guy way better than me. So if praise isn't familiar, you will reject praise, but you'll add in what's familiar, criticism. So one of the best things you can do that will change your life is to make praising yourself familiar and to make criticism unfamiliar.
Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, 9 to 9.
it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Marisa Peer, and my take on her top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, believe in wellness.
I did get very sick like a year ago, and I thought, wow, how could that happen? You know, I'm so happy and positive and eat well, so I was a bit surprised when I got sick. But then I thought,
how did you get through that?
The same thing, the thinking, the belief. I decided I'd focus on massive healing. I kept telling my body that it was a cancer-fighting machine. I was making all these NK killer cells. And I did actually go home the next day. I was on stage a week later, and my doctor was like, wow, you become the poster girl for just going on with your life. And now I look at one particular YouTube and think that's so bizarre. I had like major surgery just a week before that, and you'd never know. But again, it's the belief. I decided I do wellness. I said to the hospital, I need to go home. I got into my own bed. I watched Ray Donovan. I thought, this is it. I'm doing wellness here. I'm not going to lie in that bed where they keep trying to give you pills. Wow. And I didn't feel any pain at all because I just kept telling my body to heal itself. And then later I thought, maybe it's good I got that because I can help other people. And I go, look, you know, life throws stuff at you, but you get to choose how to deal with it. Yeah. And even then, I noticed that I was very positive because I had actually got womb cancer. I thought, well, a stroke of luck to get womb cancer. I don't need a womb. It's done its job. I've had a great kid. I talked to my womb and said, thanks for giving me this great kid, but now I've got to get rid of you because I've got to stay here and raise this great kid. Wow. And I thought, that's good. I mean, imagine if you get brain cancer or bone cancer. I felt very lucky. It was a disposable organ. They'd done a great job. I didn't need it. And so I think once you become like that, it's just who you are. So I never had, oh my God, I'm going to die. Because I thought, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It's all perspective, yeah. It
is all perspective. I mean, I still, people would say to me, but I thought you were so healthy. How could you get that? As it turns out, I have that same gene that Angelina Jolie has. But then, of course, Bruce Lipton would tell you can turn off a gene. You can mentally remove that gene. So even with adversity, because it's quite good in a way, because people think, oh, you're like Pollyanna, just tripping along, having a wonderful life. That's not true. I've still had adversity. But your mind will always kick in when it's well trained and go, this is a blip, just a blip, just carry on. And so you got to train your mind like you train a horse. I say your mind's like a Ferrari, and if you've never driven a Ferrari, it's going to go all over the place. But if you have Ferrari driving lessons, you're going to run that Ferrari. The Ferrari should not be running you. If you get on a horse you've never ridden, it's going to go everywhere. But if you have some horse riding skills, you say go there, and it goes. So I see my mind like a horse, and I am the rider, but I'm going to tell my mind where to go, and it's going to do it.
Rule number 3, speak in the present tense.
The number one job of your mind is to listen to your words and act on them. When you go, I'm going to mess this up. It's all going to go wrong. I haven't studied enough. I'll never pass that exam. Why would anyone date me? I don't have enough money. You're presupposing it when if you say something different, you get something different. Because your mind's number one job is to listen to what you tell it and act on it. And the language of the mind, a few things to consider. The mind only works in the present tense. You can't go, next year I'll be a millionaire. Next year I'll have a hot body. Next year I won't be depressed. It has to be now, today. So first of all, you've got to speak in the present tense because that's all the mind understands. Secondly, you've got to use very compelling, powerful, descriptive words that really turn on and excite the mind. And people don't understand that. They say things like every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Better and better from what? Every day I'm making more money. Well, you could make $10 a week more, but that's not exciting. So you have to use really, really powerful, descriptive, relevant, up-to-date words. And that's probably why you love your tape, because when I make people recordings, I really excite the imagination because I understand that that's what excites it. It wakes up to good words, and it doesn't even understand what undescriptive words are. So people can go, how was your weekend? All right. Not bad.
when I were obese, how are you? I'm the size of a house. I'm like, well, clearly you're not, because you wouldn't get in the chair. Yeah, I just eat all day. I'm an out of control train wreck. I eat for 24 hours a day without stopping. I said, but not really, because surely you go to the bathroom. Surely you take a nap. And then they go, yeah, I don't really eat all day. But when you say that to yourself, your mind believes that you do.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If you walk in the house and go, I'm starving. Oh, my God, I'm starving. I could eat a horse. Your mind goes, oh, my God, you're starving. Well, I have a little thing called an apposite, and it controls how much you eat. But when you told me you're starving, I'm going to switch that off, and you're going to stand in that fridge and eat everything like a mad person because you just told me you're starving. And you see, 100 years ago, that's what we died of more than disease, starvation. We're really scared of being hungry. Yeah. So people think, I logically now I've got a cooked chicken in my fridge, but I'm so hungry, I'm going to eat all those jelly beans and taco chips now. So when you say I'm starving, you'll eat like you're starving, even though you know you're not. When you say I am hungry and I need to eat some really super healthy food, and I'll wait an hour for that, your mind totally gets that. Mm-hmm. So you got to see your mind as something that's working for you. And if you give it the right instructions, do an amazing job. And if you give it the wrong instructions, like all people who work for you, do a terrible job.
Rule number 4, know that you are enough.
I've always been in love with the I'm enough, because when you're a therapist, you're always working with what lies beneath. What lies beneath these people's problems? It's always the same. I don't feel smart enough, rich enough, good enough. And when you say things like I'm a rock star, your mind goes, not really a rock star, because come on, you live in a shared apartment and you've got a car that's 11 years old. You shop in Target, that's not a rock star. Right. I'm a goddess, because you're not really a goddess, because you've got cellulite. But when you say I'm enough, its strength is its simplicity and its honesty. Because you are enough. You're not your weight, your shape, your size, your bank account, your childhood.
Your race.
You're enough. And the thing is, when you say it, and really say it, speak it, and let it in, people pick up your enoughness and believe it. So within that book, you'll see that we get people to change their password so they contain I'm enough. Obviously with some letters and numbers and squiggles, we can't if I'm enough. It'd be a hacker's dream come true. Mm-hmm. But you write it all over your mirrors. You put it on your fridge, you put it on your screen. You have your phone alerts go off twice a day. And when you type it out in your password, when you write it, read it, say it, think it, it goes in and does the most incredible work, because when you feel enough, you can talk to people. You don't risk rejection because you can't be rejected. You take risks. We'll say, if I'm enough, don't just lie on the sofa and eat potato chips. No. When you know you're enough, you think, I'm enough, I'm going to build this company, get a raise, get a promotion, release my book. I'm going to invent this thing I've had in my head for years. I'm going to ask that girl or guy out. I'm going to stand up to my kid's teacher who I think is terrifying me, because they're not terrifying. So I'm enough just opens so many doors and makes you like yourself. Because if you don't like yourself, nothing counts. Nothing you have is enough, and that's what's behind so many people. We think of everything. It becomes suicidal.
Right.
But I'm enough. Its strength is its simplicity, but also its absolute truthfulness, because everyone's enough. And the minute you know it, the whole world knows it, and they treat you differently. You see, we think, I'll buy a Porsche, and then I'm going to say, look, I'm enough, I've got a Porsche.
Still not.
I'll get an Armani jacket, or I'll get breast implants or lip implants, and then I'm saying I'm enough. But we see lots of people who've got all of that and are desperately, desperately unhappy, because everything you want is because it might make you feel enough. When you can feel enough without the stuff, now you've won. And then you'll get the stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. But you only get the stuff because you want it, not because you need it to feel enough. Yeah. So if someone said to me, I keep buying all these Jo Malone candles to feel enough, I'm like, but you've got 22. And if they worked, why would you need 26? You've got 18 pairs of shoes to feel enough. Do you think 19 is going to make any difference? Stuff can't make you feel enough. It's out there. Feeling enough is in here, and when you know you're enough, you can still love a pair of shoes. Believe me, I love a nice pair of shoes, but I never buy them to feel enough because I'm enough without them.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for you to build a habit. So I've created a special free program to help you where every day for 254 days, I will send you an email that has a link to an unlisted video that if you watch it will boost your confidence forward. The link to join for free is in the description below.
Successful people do what they hate to get to where they want to be. Doesn't matter how talented you are, if you don't have self-belief, you're not going to get anywhere.
Rule number 5, let out rage.
Everything starts with a thought. A thought is a word. And if you use words elated, empowered, ecstatic, blissed out, amazing, phenomenal, incredible, I'm stellar, I'm just amazing, and you can repeat the same words over and over again. I feel ecstatic. I'm elated. When I work, they will say, I can't stand up to my boss. I can't tell my mum that she's actually the biggest bitch in the whole world who ruined my life. I go, well, how about thinking if you say that, it makes you feel elated. It makes you empowered. It sets it free. Because outrage is just rage that needs to come out. I said to her, listen, your anger is like gas. Better out than in. She's not in the room. Let's do it now. I want you to say to your mum, Mum, I want to love you more, and I can't because I resent deeply. And suddenly they go, you absolute bitch, you biggest bitch in the world. How could you do that? And they go, I feel so good now because it's that, and I can go home and I can love my mum better because I've let the resentment out. So I never tell people to keep it in. I think feelings do their most damage when they're kept in, when they're repressed and pushed down. And most of my clients who binge and drink too much are pushing down feelings. The stomach is the seat of all emotions. You can't heal what you can't feel, but you should let feelings out. And if you keep it in, you always suffer, you always feel repressed. Many clients I see who say they are depressed are not depressed. They are repressed and they are suppressed because they can't say, I resent you for always saying, well, my brother was smarter. I resent you for marrying 6 different guys who were hideous to me and never putting me first. And then they make their peace and then they move on. You have to be aware of it. You have to accept it, and you have to articulate it. I call it AAA.
Rule number 6, don't compare yourself.
People change in 3 ways, and everyone should know that. The first change is instant. I came to see Marisa, and when I left, I've never smoked a cigarette since. I don't know what you did, but I can't eat chocolate. I ordered a coffee, had chocolate, and I sent it back. No, I don't eat sugar in any form. So that's very exciting, the instant rapid change, which many people get. And others change cumulatively bit by bit. They go, I did have a drink, but I only had one, and then I didn't want another one. And I just noticed that change was creeping up. And the other change is retroactive, was I didn't even know I changed. And suddenly I woke up and thought, I haven't shouted at my kids for 2 months. Mm-hmm. I haven't had a migraine for 3 months, and they don't even know they've changed, because they have lag time. And if everyone expects to change immediately and they're the retroactive or cumulative changes, I think it's not working. So understand that for everyone who changes instantly, others change retroactively and others change cumulatively. It's like I had 3 driving tests before I passed my test. Some people have 1, but once you get on the road, you're all equal. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter. It matters at the time.
Yeah.
So we all change differently. Don't compare yourself. And if you're starting to say these exciting words, I'm enough, I'm significant, I've got a gift, I can monetize it, allow that to sink in. You wouldn't go to the gym and go, I've done 600 sit-ups, I should have a flat stomach now, I can go home and never work out again. You go to the gym, you build a muscle, but then you maintain it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's hard, because I'd say, look, we talk to ourselves every day. Everyone talks to themselves every day. The difference is you learn to talk to yourself better.
Yeah.
Rule number 7, change the interpretation.
Thoughts are things. When you think a thought, you have an immediate reaction. That's why if you think about eating, your stomach rumbles. You think about sex, you get aroused. People say, I don't believe that. So, well, what do you think an erection is? You think a thought, you get a physical reaction.
That's not a one-off. If you think a thought has a physical reaction in your body immediately and an emotional response. If I think I'm embarrassed, I might blush. If you say something moving, my eyes might fill up with tears because my body is reacting to thoughts. And if we could all be taught that early on, you react to thoughts, that's a fact. Here's another great fact. You can change your thoughts anytime you like. And if you change your thinking, it changes your entire life. So for instance, we're all saying, I'm stuck at home. I go, no, I'm safe at home. Stuck, safe. You change one little word, it changes everything. So we say, I'm trapped. I'm in a lockdown. You know, we're not actually trapped. They're not sealing up the doors like they did in the plague. In the plague, they sealed your doors and you couldn't physically get out. But we are asked to stay indoors. We still go out for walks. We go out to the store. We go to the pharmacy. We're not stuck. We're not locked in. We're not trapped. We're not in prison. It's not an apocalypse. It's not Armageddon. But if you start to use those words, it begins to feel exactly as if it is that case. So it's really important that you change your words. And I learned that when I was helping a hospital who had people who couldn't go in the scanning machine. And they'd all say things like, well, I feel like I'm in a coffin. You know, when I get in that scanner and I can't move, I'm so trapped. I'm like, look, come on. You lie in bed for 8 hours every night and don't move. Why don't you just say, I'm in my bed, I'm super chilled, and I feel so relaxed. And what will happen is your mind will react to your thinking. And so I had many people do that, and I was teaching nurses how to get people to do that, especially little kids of 6 going into the scan. And they said, you know, when we tell them they're in their bed, they actually fall asleep in there. And we say, we're going to play a game now of statues. How long can you keep still for? So when I actually, a few years ago, was in a scanner, which I didn't ever plan to be, and I thought, well, let me play a game here. So I lay in there and I went, I'm in my bed, I'm so chilled, this is so great, I've got half an hour to just lie here. And then I decided to go, I'm in my coffin now. And they started to talk to me, Marisa, you're moving all the time. I had no idea, because I was saying I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I'm claustrophobic. My body was like, get out. And it starts to do things to make you want to leave. And so if you just understand how you are, everything changes. So our ancestral brain is like flee, fight, freeze. I can fight, I can flee, I can freeze. So I'm in a scanner and it's like, well, I need to flee this, I need to fight it. And I'm like, no, if you can't fight and you can't flee, don't freeze, flow. I can't fight, I can't flee, but I can flow. I mean, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in solitary confinement. We can't even do 3 weeks. We're going, oh, it's hell. It's a nightmare. I'm cooped up. My kids are driving me mad. I want to get a divorce. I can't stand it. But he did 27 years. You know how he did it? Because he said, everyone in my country is in prison. I'm just in a different prison to them. If they can do it, I can do it. And I'm going to come out here the leader of my country. Wow. And he did. So, you know, we have this belief that events affect us. They don't. The meaning you attach to an event affects you. The interpretation you choose about an event is what affects you. So some people are going, I love it, it's great, you know, I'm so much time, I'm having the best. And people go, I hate it, I can't stand it, I'm climbing the walls, I'm going crazy, I'm ripping my hair out. None of which we're not actually ripping out our hair or climbing the walls or going insane. We shouldn't use that. But clearly it must be the interpretation, because we're all reacting differently. So this won't affect you, but what you make of it will. And it's your job to change the interpretation. And if you can change the interpretation, it will change your entire life.
Rule number 8, make a choice.
You can choose whatever you wish, negative, positive. You get to choose. What you can't choose is what you do to your body and your health when you're negative. You can't choose that. I could say I'm just a negative person, but over here is a positive person. We all can choose to do that. But you can never choose how you ruin your health, defeat your immune system, paralyze your autoimmune system, affect your nervous system. What goes on in your body when you're negative is horrific, because
The body can't choose. It has to react to negative. You make cortisol, that's a stress hormone. That shuts down fertility. It lays down fat. So all the stuff you're doing when you're negative, giving yourself heart attacks and strokes and high blood pressure, all because you're choosing to be negative, when if you come over to the positive world, which is so much better, you have better health. You live longer. You look 20 years younger. That's a good thing too, because all the stress leaves your face.
That's it.
You don't have to take laxatives and all those antacids and stuff that people take because of their thinking.
Rule number 9, give your mind instructions.
Here's a great rule. When dealing with a subconscious mind, the greater the conscious effort, the less the subconscious ones. Who's tried to relax? Who's tried to sleep? Who's tried to remember? What's the name of that restaurant? I don't know. And suddenly you think, oh my God, it's just popped in my head. Your mind actually is like Google. If you need to remember, don't go, where's my keys? Where's my keys? My passport? Oh my God, I'm going to miss the plane. I'm going to get fired. It's all a disaster. Don't do that. Say to your mind, tell me where I put my keys. Remind me where my keys are, and do something else. And it will pop in. Oh, of course, I came in and I put them next to the fridge. Tell me the name of that restaurant I went to. Do something else. Your mind will do its job. You give it an instruction. Mind, go ahead and tell me where my keys are, where my wallet is. And it will tell you. It will pop it in your head. But when you try and start, you know the thing where you empty out the drawer? And then you go and empty it out again, and now you've emptied it out 3 times looking for your passport. You know it's not there, but for a 4th time, let's tip our handbag on the floor, pull out our drawer, I'm missing the flight, oh my God. Everyone's going to hate me. My kids are going to be furious. Don't do that. Stress shuts down logical thinking. When you're stressed, your mind goes, there must be a lion somewhere. Let me pull all the blood away from your brain into your heart and lungs so you can run. I saw this in action years ago. I was walking home, and this guy was following me, and I lived in a basement, and I got halfway down the stairs, and I knew that he was going to come down the stairs too, and I got my key in the door, and I couldn't work out. I thought, I've lived here for 5 years, I don't know how to open the door. So I was so scared, but I had the foresight to pull the key out, and I had to stand back in the shadows, flatten myself against the wall. And he came halfway down, he couldn't see me, and he left. But I wasn't going to keep trying to open that door, because when you're scared, your mind just disappears. You can't even remember your own phone number. So you have to fill up your mouth with saliva and pump it around, push your shoulders down, and then you're not stressed. But it's very important when you want to remember something, don't try. Ask your mind to remind you. And if you're in an exam and you think, oh my God, my mind's gone blank, fill up your mouth with saliva, swirl it around, push your shoulders down, and your mind goes, a wet mouth is a sign of someone who's relaxed. That's why we kiss, by the way, before we have sex. A wet mouth makes you relaxed.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is ignore the opinions of others.
We hold ourselves back because we're so worried about what you will think. And now it's got worse. I put something up on Facebook, and then I'm looking to see how many likes I've got. I got 2. And now I think, oh, people don't like me. I put something on Instagram or Twitter, and I got no likes, no comments, no followers. Now I feel worthless. But if I put it up and someone liked me, I'd feel worthwhile. You know what they're doing? They are giving someone else permission to decide if you are worthwhile or not worthwhile. So I'm going to tell you something that is so truthful, it will change your life. You ready? The most important words you will ever hear are the words you say to yourself. The most important opinion is your opinion. After all, if you went into a store and said, is this okay? Does this colour suit me? They usually go, oh, that's your colour and that's your sign. You know, actually you should get that in 3 other colours, and you should get this to go with it. It's very easy for people in stores to manipulate us. It's very easy to say, oh, you know, I felt kind of manipulated into buying that. The assistant was so nice, or, you know, I didn't really want that, but I didn't know how to say no. Or my boss at work praised me and said, you're amazing, you're the best team member, you are indispensable. Could you take on this other person's work and finish it this weekend? And it's like, what can I say? They totally manipulated me with praise. So your mind understands.
Other people can tell you great stuff, but they may have an agenda, they may not, but they might.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's what the science says. And that is not good enough, Believe Nation. We need to do better. When you actually get motivated and then create a specific plan of action for what you're going to do this week, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you publicly commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment below on this video, it jumps even higher. So I want that for you. I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week so I can celebrate with you.
So the first thing that people who are incredibly successful do is they do what they hate. They are fully prepared to do what they hate to get to where they want to be. And people who fail, they will give up their dream before they do what they hate to do. And people who are very successful, they never, ever, ever wait for motivation. They do it because when you do it, you become motivated. A great writer won't go, well, I'll just wait till I'm really motivated to start writing this book. No, they get up at 4 a.m, they don't want to, and they start to write, and then of course they become motivated. So you wake up in the morning and you go, you're not going to go, yay, it's 5 a.m, I'm putting on my running shoes and going for a walk up Laurel Canyon. Of course you're not going to do that. You're going to wake up and go, God, I really hate working out. But Marisa said, successful people do what they hate to get to where they want to be. Because of course the wonderful thing is that when you do what you hate first enough times, it starts to become natural. Like, I've got to do my taxes, I'll do that first thing. I've got to confront someone, I'll do it first. And so I still to this day wake up and think, oh, I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to do it first, because what I do want is to belong to that group of very, very successful people. So I know what the membership is. And every time I don't want to do something, I think, I don't want to do it, but what I do want is to belong to that group, so I'm doing it first. And it's a great way of thinking, because it starts to move you around wanting to do it for all the right reasons. Many, many years ago, I met someone who wanted to be a rock star. That was his ambition. He actually particularly wanted to be a drummer. And he was a very young married man with 2 children to support. And he was going for a lot of auditions. And of course, all the auditions take place during the day. And every time he had a job, they wouldn't let him take time off. So he decided he would have to work nights in order to audition during the day. And the only job he could get was a job he hated. He was a taxi driver and he hated it, but he did it. But he just wasn't making enough money. So he thought, okay, I'll have to work in McDonald's. I get more money, I can work nights, I'm free to audition. And about a month before he'd applied to work in McDonald's, he'd been for an audition to be a drummer in a band. He didn't even know who the band was. And the day he was due to start working at McDonald's, which he absolutely hated even the thought of, he got a call to go, you know, that band you auditioned for is actually Simple Minds, and now you're the drummer in Simple Minds. So he never worked in McDonald's or drove a cab again for the rest of his life. But when he told people that story, they'd all go, oh, I would never work in McDonald's. Oh my God, I'd never degrade myself by driving a cab around London. And I'm like, don't you think you're missing the point? His ability to do what he hated is what made him a rock star, because he had to have his days free to rehearse and audition. But if he had your mindset, I'd never do that, he would never be a multi-millionaire rock star. It was because he was fully prepared to do what he hated, to swallow his pride, to keep his vision in mind. I want to be a rock star. I must be free for auditions. How can I do that? Well, I have to work as a cab driver and in a fast food restaurant, which I hate, but I'm going to do it because it's going to take me to my goal. And it did. But the people who laughed at him and said, I wouldn't do that, none of them are rock stars.
You mentioned something about leaning into the feelings until you no longer need to feel them, or until they go away.
Feel the feeling until it no longer requires to be felt.
Why should we do that? So give me an example of a feeling.
So let's imagine you and your ex-wife are not getting on, and you have a feeling of rage about the fact that she's trying to get your kid to call the new guy daddy and she's blocking you out, and you feel so angry. You think, well, I mustn't feel angry, she's doing it for the interest of my kid, and so I just drink the anger, and I drink the anger. And you see, with a feeling, it's the most real thing you have. A feeling is like a little kid in a class going, notice me, I'm over here. And if you don't, they get more and more out of control. And so when you don't acknowledge your feelings, they regroup until they become outrage, rage coming out. And then suddenly they go a bit crazy in the car park of a store or the line of a store, because the mind says, I've got all this rage, wants to come out. Someone just cut into the line, take it out on them. And it's so ineffective, because I have something I call AAA, which is be aware of your feeling. Most people have no idea what they feel. They go, I shouldn't feel jealous. I shouldn't feel envious. I shouldn't be furious with this kid who's keeping me up all night. So they're not aware of it. They certainly can't accept it, and they never get to articulate it. But if you can say, my wife's a good person, but actually I'm furious with what she's doing. It really hurts my feelings. That's why group therapy in places like AA, the good thing is you get to say, sometimes I could quite cheerfully hurt my wife. I'm not going to, but I feel like it. Oh yeah, I feel like that too. Because when you can express your feeling, it goes away. It goes away immediately.
But when you communicate it,
even to yourself. So if your mother-in-law is the absolute from hell, and you can't say, by the way, Dorothy, you are the most horrible mother-in-law in the world, but you just go and shut yourself in the bathroom, turn on the taps, flush the toilet, and say, Dorothy is a really unpleasant mother-in-law. And one of my...
feel better.
Yeah, you feel so much better because you're not saying it to them. It's like feelings are like gas. They're in or they're out, and they hurt much more when you keep them in. And you want to let them out. Maybe gas, obviously right in the middle of a meeting, but when you keep stuff in, it causes you pain. You have to understand a bit more of psychology, because humans are hardwired to recreate what they know. We like what's familiar, even if it's very bad. If I've never had money and I win the lottery, I'm going to get rid of it. Or if I've never had love and you love me, I'm going to reject you because it's so unfamiliar. If I've had a dad who calls me an idiot and worthless, guess what kind of guy I like? That's it. Because when I meet them, I go, oh, I feel like I've known this guy my whole life. We just clicked. And they think, oh my God, it's because he's my dad. But now I've been sleeping with him for 6 months. I don't know what to do with that now. Because we are wired to like what is familiar and to resist what's unfamiliar. And that's what kept us alive. When we lived in walled cities, we didn't go, I'm a bit bored with this group. I think I'll go outside the walled city and find another tribe, because they might have killed you. Mm-hmm. So we have this wiring that says, run towards what's familiar and run away from what's unfamiliar. But the very good news is you can make anything familiar. And the most important thing to make familiar is praising yourself. If you could just do that, that in itself would change your entire life.
How do you praise yourself?
Well, you get up in the morning and go, I'm a good person. I have a skill. I have a talent. I have something to offer the world. I'm here for a reason. You look in the mirror and go, oh, there you are. You're a good person. You've got a good heart. The most important way to answer that question is this. What did you always want your dad to tell you, even if you never had a dad? Mm. If you had a dad, a good dad, what would he have said? Mm. What would your mum have said? What would a nice teacher have said to you? And it would be something like this. I'm proud of you. You're a good son. I'm so glad I'm your dad. How lucky I got to have you. And a teacher would say, you're such a smart kid. What a joy it is to teach you because you're smart. And we all want to hear the same stuff. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're interesting. You're a great company. Nobody needs to hear I'm the best dentist in Beverly Hills, because that doesn't work. It's emotions. And many of my clients, their mother might be dead, but they're still trying to get her to approve of them. Wow. Dad's living in another country, but they're still working to make him like them. And, the most important thing is you like you. Your beliefs affect your biology. Your beliefs certainly affect your biochemistry. I've had women of 58 say, could you make me pregnant? I go, I know. It's too late. Why did you wait 30 years? But the mind will follow your instructions, and it's very important to give yourself the right instructions. Of course, there are limits. You can't tell yourself you're going to be an astronaut. And when people say to me, I want to be a millionaire, I'm like, what are you going to do to be a millionaire? You can't go, right, I'm going to sit at home, and that's the problem with The Secret. attract millions to you. What are you going to do for these millions? I want to have a six-pack. You do need to go to the gym. I want to have great health. Well, stop eating pizza and eat better food. But once you get the mind to want it, it's actually easy. But when people say to me, I want to be a millionaire, then we tell them, well, any goal of significance requires you to learn something new. But then they have a fear of learning. And of course, you're right. Then when people come in and go, I want this, you have to look at the blocks. The number one block is the fear of rejection. If I make it, I might get rejected. If I find love, they might leave. If I make all that money, people won't like me anymore. So you've got to smash out of the ballpark the fear of rejection. You've got to smash out the second belief that says it's all easy. I remember Luther Vandross saying, people say I'm an overnight success. I sang jingles for KFC for 12 years. It was a long overnight. So you do have to also have that desire. I mean, for me, I speak in public, I write books, always aware that somebody's going to go, I hate your book, I don't like it. I'm like, oh, that's okay. They can't reject me. They might reject my book. Most people happen to love them. But to get anywhere in life, you have to get over the fear of rejection. Because people think they're going to die from rejection, but they really don't. People come in and they describe, I really want to be successful, but I'd love to be healthier, but I want to find love, but I can't get pregnant because. And the first thing we do is investigate, like a good detective. A detective will lay out pictures and go, what's going on here? And they make sense of it. And very much the same. So people come to me and go, no, I've got unexplained infertility. What is that? I went, well, there's a clue in the description. It is unexplained. Nobody knows. Your husband's got cracked sperm that swims straight and plenty of it. You've got great eggs, great fallopian tubes, perfect womb, but you can't get pregnant because the unexplained is here. And many people, when they're younger, will say things, if I got pregnant, my dad would kill me. Oh my God, if I got pregnant, it would be the end of the world. And I mean, when I was 17 thinking I was pregnant, thinking, oh my God, no, disaster. Oh my God, my dad will be so upset, devastated. When I wasn't, I went, oh, thank you, God. Oh, yes, joy. But you see, the mind listens to everything you say. The mind is always switched on, and it records everything, and it never forgets. So in a moment of absolute terror or fear or pain or anxiety, there's something called an imprint. It goes in. So a child whose mother says, that cat will scratch you and give you blood poisoning, or that dog's going to bite you, or that's a dangerous person, or, I worked with a little kid who had a terrible fear of monsters under the bed. Turned out his dad used to always say, you'll get run over if you do that. You'll kill yourself if you do that. You'll drown if you do that. Turned out his dad was the monster because he was scaring him all the time. So you get a young person, can be an adult, and you get an imprint. And what we do is investigate where did this imprint happen? And when we've got the imprint, which is very easy, you can ask questions to get the imprint. You can listen to the client's story. The one who said, my mum used to cry when I brought up food and was so happy when I ate. Or you can use hypnosis and go back like that. And the reason I love hypnosis so much is you go to the imprint. People come to see me within 5 minutes, they have the imprint. There's no, oh, how does that make you feel? And how do you feel now? And let's talk more about that. And come back next Wednesday at 4 and we'll keep this going, because studies now say that's actually the worst thing you can do, because you just keep the story alive. So we do the investigating, we find the imprint, and then we interpret it. What does that mean? Why do you think, your dad telling all these stories would now leave you to have this monster under your bed? Why do you think at 15 being terrified of being pregnant could possibly mean that today you've got unexplained infertility? And they work it out. They go, yeah, now you say that. If I look at those scenes and look at this scene, it all makes sense. And then you interrupt the belief massively, and then you install a brand new belief. You're getting pregnant like a high school kid on their first date. You're super fertile. You've got cracked grade A eggs. Your husband's got the SAS of sperm, and it's going to collide. So you bring in the very powerful language, and you are going to make a grade A baby. Because, of course, people say, I want to be pregnant. I'm like, No, you don't. You want to make a baby that you carry to full term. I have clients who I've been pregnant 8 times. You want a perfect, bouncing, healthy baby. So it's another example of not telling your mind what you want. So the combination of the imprint, the investigate, the interpret, the interrupt, and the install is so powerfully transformational. When you focus on the worst possible outcome, you actually feel as if you are in that worst possible outcome. The only way to overcome a fear is, instead of focusing on the worst possible outcome, to focus on the best possible outcome. I'm driving, it's foggy, it's dark, it's icy, I might skid off the road and kill myself. Or I'm driving very carefully, I'm driving very slowly, I'm driving very cautiously because I'm going to be safe and I'm going to get home. See, that's the difference. You just have to give yourself different beliefs. The thing with fear always is you have 2 choices. Rationalize why you feel so terrible, or talk yourself out of it. I was on the beach with my daughter and there was a big dog, and it was quite a scary dog, and she didn't like this dog. And I said to her, darling, when you don't like a dog, you get very scared, and the dog doesn't like it either, and he gets scared. So when you see a scary dog, turn your back to it. Don't look at it, because when you look at it, you're challenging it. And that's hard to do, to turn your back on a dog. But if you turn your back, it's not a challenge. And she understood that. And I was always teaching her, when you have a fear, you have a choice. Oh my God, that dog's going to bite me, attack me, hurt me. Or I'm going to talk myself out. I'm going to turn away. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to be really calm. And that dog's just going to go on its way. And it's the same with everything in life to do with fear. Rationalize why you feel so fearful, or talk yourself out of it. I'll be fine. This is okay. Everything's going to work out perfectly. I'm okay. All of these fears hold you back, and they don't have to, because every fear you go through teaches you something. You see, if you go to a fun fair and go to those loop-the-loop rides, you can scream in terror or you can scream in excitement. And the fact that people put themselves through those rides means that at some level we quite like fear. It challenges us to do more. It challenges us to grow more. So don't fear fear. Remember, the only fear to fear is fear itself. I find that even with cancer, if you have that belief, I'm going to try all this stuff, but it won't work, and I'm riddled with it, and there's no hope, and they start to read all these terrible diagnoses. I mean, in England, you are not allowed to say to someone, you've got 10 months to live, because that's what happens. They turn into the 10 months. You cannot diagnose them.
What do they tell them?
They just say, we're going to do this, and you may not survive this, but you could. And in the same way that if you're having surgery and they go, oh, look, this is a complete mess in here, there's just no way. Even in surgery, your subconscious is hearing what's going on around you. And there are many people who come out of a coma who said, I heard everything. The hearing is the last thing to go. And so if you make a choice to talk to yourself better, you can bounce back. You might as well use your mind as much as you possibly can to be well. We tell ourselves the story, we play the only part we've ever known, and then that part becomes our own, and we don't know how to separate it. And so people come in with their story and they go, well, I was a newborn baby and my mum told me that I was only like 2 pounds. I nearly died. They had to drop milk in me with a dropper. And I remember my mum telling me she used to cry every time I got weighed, or if she fed me when I threw up, they would get so upset because I could die. Like, okay, and now you're 600 pounds because you keep telling yourself that story. And people tell themselves the story until it validates why, my dad didn't love me. He left before I was born. He never came to see me. But he had another kid that he treated like Jesus, bought him everything, Game Boys, clothes. So if my dad didn't love me, I'm not lovable. And you have to go, but that was then. Your dad was an idiot. That has nothing to do with whether you can find love or not. But clients tell themselves this story, and they don't understand that at any age you can go, well, I think it's time for a new story. And so my job is to first of all find out where, they come in and go, I don't know why I do this. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just messed up.
I don't know why I can't speak. I've always been that way. I go, nope. No baby looks away when you look at them in the hospital. No baby goes, don't look at me. I'm having a bad hair day. We're all born with so much confidence. You have 4 children. They never go, no, I can't get a banana in my mouth. I can't get to grips with this walking, reaching. They're wired to go for something. But a lot of damage is done very early. And I see that all the time. Really silly things like people come in and go, I can't ask for money. And then our TT has what I call interruptions, where after they've gone back, they have to then say, but that's not me because, and that can't be me because, and that won't be me ever again. And what that does is it starts to change the neurons. It's actually called neuroplasticity. It starts to change the way the brain is wired. They stop thinking the way they thought as a child and put into place different beliefs, and then they're forever changed. And it's amazing to see it in action.
You always have a choice. Your mind talks to your body all the time. That's its job. And your job is to tell your mind what you want. I want perfect health. I don't do illness. I do wellness. Everything I do is perfect. I was at a conference recently. Someone wrote, oh my God, I'm so glad I listened to your audio because I have 4 hours of sleep. And I tell my mind I'm having 8. And I thought, God, I should do that. I'm teaching people this. I forgot I can do that too. Tell my mind I've had 8 hours sleep. Tell my mind I feel amazing. Tell my mind when I'm working out, my body loves this. My muscles love this. I can do a bit more. Rather than go, oh, it all aches and I hate doing this. And I could be at home watching TV. So just to be very clear, your mind's job is to do what you tell it. And your job, should you choose to accept, is to tell it great things, amazing things. I'm not aging, I'm saging. I'm embodying wellness. I have perfect balance. You can choose. Not only does the mind tell the body what to do, it also interrupts the signals coming back from the body. I've got this crippling, thumping headache can become, well, I've got a little niggle in my head, but I'm really too busy to notice it. I'm in agony. No, you've just had a little shot. That's not agony. This commute is hell. No, hell is not having a car or any gas and looking at people or taking 3 buses to do your commute. Being in this store is torture. No. When you go to Africa and you see they don't have any stores and the ones they do have no food in them, you'll never again stand in Ralph's and go, this is a nightmare. It's hell grocery shopping. If you have money in your wallet to buy food for people that love you, that is so far beyond hell. But people use these words. It's killing me. It's a disaster. It's a nightmare. And also, whenever anyone does anything wrong, we go, what's wrong with you? We should say, what happened to you? What happened to you? And they'll go, well, my mom always said she didn't want a boy, she wanted a girl, and I've been brought up. I'll give you an example. I had a city trader as a client who really had problems trading. And his boss said, he's the best trader, but he's so nervous. And when I worked with him, he was saying that when he was a kid, his parents had 2 girls and then him. And he would smash his Tonka toys and they go, what's wrong with you? Look at your sisters just combing their doll's hair and they're so good. And why are you so aggressive? And a 4-year-old can't go, well, because I have something called testosterone.
Right.
And they don't. And I'm designed to run and jump and hunt and fish. And I got to learn what to do with aggression. Smashing my cars together is good for me. A 4-year-old doesn't have anything because they live in the world of, they just live in a world of feeling, not logic. And he said, I never realized, just spent my whole life thinking something's wrong with me because my parents would say everything conversation, what's wrong with you? Look how neat you says they don't get peas on the floor when they eat. And he said, I heard it every day until I formed a belief something's wrong with me. He didn't date women because he thought, well, I should be like one, but I want to be like a man. And that session totally turned him around. He said it was like someone had sprayed him with pheromones because he went out that night and women were attaching themselves to him like a magnet. But he just got rid of the feeling of something's wrong with me. Because most people do walk around going, something's wrong with me, I'm just majorly messed up. And you can't heal.
And no one understands me, no one gets me.
And I don't understand me. And if I don't understand me, how can you?
And why should I even be here?
Yeah, because you can't heal what you can't understand. And so all the treating the symptom is like putting a Band-Aid on an infection. It doesn't. When you understand it, you can totally change your perception of what it is. Because Events actually don't affect you, but the meaning you attach to them does.
The story we tell ourselves
The
about
story. We have a great fear of rejection, which is not surprising, because when we're born, we have two drivers: find connection, avoid rejection. After all, if a mother rejects a child, if a lion rejects the cub, it's not going to be adopted, it will die. Yeah, or it just starves to death. And so we know innately that our survival on the planet is linked to not being rejected. And not that long ago, you would have died from rejection. You know, in 1,000 years ago, when they banished you outside the walls of the city, or you marooned a difficult sailor, or you cast someone out of the community, you pretty much died. There was nothing out there but purgatory. So we have a wiring that says rejection will kill me. And that's why you had the fear. But when you can dialogue with the other, go, no, it feels like it will kill me. It can't kill me, because no girl can reject me unless I give her my permission.
Right, give them my power.
You can't reject me unless I agree with everything. I don't like you because you got short hair. I don't like your shirt. I don't like you because you're white, not white, tall, short, glasses, not. But when you say you can't reject me, I can't be rejected, because the only person you can reject me is me. You can talk to girls realizing, even if they say, no, you're not my type, I'm with someone, no thanks, or even, ooh, not no, they can only reject you if you let that in. And we look at someone like James Corden, who's certainly not gorgeous, but women love him because he's funny.
So funny.
So funny.
Love
and,
that guy.
you know, we like warm people. You know, the packaging is all very nice. But lots of people have a great packaging, a great wrapper, and but they're unhappy. And so our greatest fear is to be rejected. But the truth is, in 2018, you could live in this apartment, have Amazon deliver your groceries, never see a soul, and you probably live until you're 106.
Yeah.
Wouldn't advise it, but we don't die of rejection anymore, but we still feel like we will. And all schools should be teaching kids, you cannot be rejected. You can ask for a pay rise. You can ask for crowdfunding. You can go to someone and go, here's my idea. You can write a book, speak in public. Because I work with a lot of actors who say, I'm so scared of rejection. I'm like, well, how are you going to be an actor then?
Because you're supposed to be rejected
so
all the time.
So you and I write books. For everyone who loves it, there's going to be the odd person who goes, I hate this book and I hate that writer too. But we don't let it in. We have to laugh about it. When you give a YouTube talk, I mean, one of my talks got like 3 million views, and there's a few in there going, I hate her, stuck-up English snob. But they don't know me, because that's not me at all. But I don't go, oh my God, I can never write another book. I'm okay because I don't let it in, because the only opinion that matters is my opinion. I know I'm not a stuck-up English snob, so that can't hurt me. In powerful language, you can never say, you're going to fall, you're going to mess that up, you're going to ruin everything. That's just not going to work out. You have to say the opposite. Okay, I've only got 10 minutes to prepare my speech. I only need 10 minutes. I've only got 10 minutes to get there. That's exactly how much time I need. And if I'm late, I wasn't supposed to be there on time. I have a belief now, when I get to a party late, it's because I wasn't meant to get there early. I no longer go, oh my God, I'm so late. This is going to be terrible. In fact, I was recently going in a cab across town to get a train to work with a football team. And we got stuck in traffic. And so I was playing a game. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to miss the train. This is terrible. I'm going to ruin my reputation. The team are going to be so upset. And I felt really sick. And then I started to say, the trains run every 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. What's 20 minutes? My material's so great. They have lots of time. After all, they finished practicing at 3 o'clock. And it was fine. So all the way there, I was playing a game, and I actually got the train on time. But they really wouldn't have minded. But I could have ruined my day, made myself panicky and sweaty by going, oh my God, I haven't got enough time, and now it's all ruined. And it's never ruined. You can come back from anything. And then I worked with a client who had cancer and had to go into this MRI scanner. And every time I saw him, he said, I can't do it. I can't get in that scanner. And I said, well, I feel like I'm in my coffin. I feel like it's a premonition of my death. And I get in the scanner, I think, well, I've got cancer and I'm going to die. And I said, well, I freak out. I press the button, I have to come out. And they keep saying, look, you've got to, I can't even be in there for 2 seconds, which is not true. When people say, I can't do it for even a second, he probably was in there for a few minutes. I said, look, the words you say to yourself in that scanner, this is a premonition of my death, I feel like I'm in a coffin, I feel like I'm suffocating and I can't do it, that's a blueprint. And your mind doesn't like those words. So how about these words? How about saying, I'm in my bed at home and I'm just so chilled and I could lie here for hours. I'm chilled, I'm relaxed, I'm blissed out. You must use words that make a picture. You can't go, oh, I'm okay really. I'm quite good, I'm not bad, this is okay. Because when I say the words okay, not bad, where's the picture? There's no picture. It's what I call fluff. When you say I'm chilled, I'm blissed out, I'm ecstatic, I'm just lying here and I could do this for hours, it's just so cool, the mind goes, you're right. And when you go, I'm in a coffin and I'm suffocating, the mind goes, you're right. See, here's the great thing. You can choose any words you like. You can go, well, we're all going to be negative and this half's going to be positive. That's your choice. You know what you can't choose? What you do to yourself when you say, I'm an idiot, I'm a moron, I'm a retard, I've got rocks for brains, everything goes wrong. Who would ever like me? I've got cellular, I'm a single parent, I've got no chance, blah, blah, blah. I didn't go to college, so I couldn't possibly do what you do. I got kicked out of college, by the way, so you can definitely do what I do. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I can look at my life and say being fired, being dumped, and being kicked out of college, thank you, God, for putting that in up to me, because it changed my life. It was the best thing. Rejection has been one of the best things that ever happened to me. Being the least favorite kid, if I could have my life again, I'd go back and be the least favorite kid, because I thought, I'm going to show my parents that I'm something. And if I was the favorite, I wouldn't have done that. I would have had a totally different life.
Here's some things I want you to start doing today, right now, that will build your self-esteem super fast. The number one thing is to praise yourself. There is nothing that will build your self-esteem like praise, but your praise is if you have a shop assistant who says, oh, you look really great in the outfit, yeah, it suits you, you must buy it. They have an agenda. If your boss says you're amazing at your job, but I need to give you work to do over the weekend, they have an agenda. Someone dating you might have an agenda, and your mind knows it, but when you say, I'm great at my job, I'm smart, I'm kind, I'm nice, people like me, there is no agenda. Unfortunately, when you go, I'm rubbish at my job, I'm boring, I always mess up and I have no friends, your mind lets that into, because your mind doesn't really care if what you say is right or wrong, good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. And let me prove that to you. I want you to put your hand in front of your face like that. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine you have a big, fat, juicy lemon. And I want you to breathe in that wonderful lemon smell and just squeeze it a bit and feel that wonderful lemon texture, because nothing quite smells like a lemon. So still really believing you have half a lemon in your hand, open your mouth, shove that lemon in there, cram that half a lemon into your mouth and start chewing and sucking and biting and swallowing the flesh. Keep sucking all that lemon flesh into your mouth. Bite it, chew it, suck out the juice. And you will notice that what is happening is your body is responding to a thought as if it's a fact. Your body is responding to the image and thought of eating a lemon as if you are actually eating a lemon, and it's making a saliva, because thoughts are things. And every thought you have has a physical reaction in your body and an emotional response to. When you think, I don't have friends, I can't talk to people, I can't take things back to a store, I can't ask for special treatment, I don't know how to talk to people, then your mind accepts that as a fact, just like the lemon. But when you say, oh, I can talk to anyone, I'm an interesting person, I'm warm and friendly, people like me, and I can make eye contact, I'm good at my job, I can ask someone out on a date, I can tell the person I'm involved with what I need, your mind accepts that too. And someone recently said they keep a lemon on their desk now and look at it every day. I'm sure they change it every month, because that lemon reminds them every day that they are responsible
what they think and feel. And you know, responsibility, that word means an ability to respond. So I want you to start to praise yourself. I want you to wake up in the morning, the first thing you go is, I like myself. You do know, don't you, that people who are critical have so much criticism reserved for themselves. They actively dislike themselves. And you're actually showing me and the entire office that you really don't like yourself.
By critiquing me.
Yeah, by critiquing, you're just showing me. Yeah, critical people always have criticism reserved for themselves. They are full of self-criticism, but they reflect it out. And superior people and happy people always praise, and people who feel inadequate always criticize, because criticize withers you and praise builds you up. And if you can use those 5 techniques, thanks for sharing, could you repeat that? Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Won't work, I'm not letting it in. Since we're sharing, did you know what is running your critical behavior? You don't let it in, and being able to not let in criticism, that too will change your life. It makes you bulletproof. You can't stop people being mean and having a horrible day, and we now have trolling, which is becoming an epidemic, so it's actually worse. Our kids used to get bullied at school and go home to a sanctuary.
Now they're bullied online.
Now they're bullied online, on the phone, and it never ends, and they feel really attacked. And see, when you find trolls, they're usually really miserable and unhappy, but they love the power because they have no power. They live on their own or with their mum. They have no life. I mean, we had a terrible situation in England where somebody was trolling this person whose child had been kidnapped, and when they exposed her, she killed herself. Oh, man. Which was a terrible thing for her, but obviously her sense of shame that she was outed and to kill herself, but she must have felt terrible. I felt so sorry for her. But she was very vicious in her trolling, but that's a really unhappy person. She needed a lot of help. But when you can teach people to come back from criticism without fighting or going, well, I hate you too, or you're shut up, or crying, when you can just teach them, look, I'm not letting it. It's like if I try to give you a gift, you go, no, I don't need that gift. I'm holding the gift. I can't give you something if you don't take it. Right. I can't serve papers on you unless you accept them. I can't serve a volley to you unless you volley it back. So when you learn that people can try and give you anything, but if you don't accept it, you haven't let it in. And if you don't let it in, it can't hurt you. It just hurts the person who's left holding it.
How do you help people establish meaning behind?
Well, I wrote a book called I'm Enough, and we have a program called I'm Enough, and what that does is it takes you the process of where does this come from? You're not born with this belief. How did you get it? And when they discover how they got it, they're able to give it up. One of my first ever clients was this beautiful woman, very hard to believe, and she said, I can never make a relationship last. And it sounds so silly, but she said that her dad used to say to her every day, you'll never ever find anyone that loves you like me. Nobody could love you like me. You'll never find the kind of love that I have. And he programmed, when you label someone, you limit them. So now she's got an imprint. I'm never going to find love like this love. And guess what she never found? Love like that. And all you have to do as a parent is to say, I love you because you're lovable. And all your life you'll find love like this love because you're worth it. So it's little tiny adjustments that have the most profound effect on people. And it's never too late to say, I'm enough, I can find love. And now if you give someone the power to make you feel good, you give them the power to make you feel bad. And if you do it to yourself, you feel so much better. It makes you slightly bulletproof. You still need other people, we all need other people. But the dialoguing with yourself and starting with I'm enough, I picked that because I found all my clients, addicts, bingers, bulimics, saboteurs, hoarders, compulsive shoplifters, they all went back to the same thing. I'm not enough, I need more. And if you feel enough, you start to feel equal. See, most of us feel unequal. You're better than me because you've got money, or you're more attractive than me. But no dog or cat says, oh, you're better than me because you're a pedigree. A baby doesn't know that another baby's wearing designer clothes and they're not. They have no concept of that. So really what I'm Enough is doing is reactivating, remanifesting and regenerating what you were born with, an ability to say, I'm enough. In my experience, people who try to be perfect are the unhappiest people in the world, and they're almost always the loneliest too. When you try to be perfect, you have entered a race that you can't win. You can't even complete it. There is no finishing line. The finishing line keeps moving. So when you're in a race to be thinner, happier, richer, more successful, you can't complete that race. You can't win it. And instead of thinking, oh, I'm reaching my goals, you feel intense dissatisfaction. Here's the truth. The way you feel about everything is down to the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. And guess what is so great? You can change those pictures anytime. You can change those words. Every thought you think, every word you say becomes a blueprint that your mind, body, and psyche use everything at their disposal to make real. Thoughts are things. What you speak and think and say without realizing your mind is working so hard to make that your reality, even if it's super negative. You know, I see parents all the time who say things like, I'll be happy when my kid sleeps through the night. I'll be happy when my kid's out of diapers. I'll be happy when my kid is walking, feeding themselves, going to school. And they spend their whole child's life looking at the next bit to be happy, when you should be thinking, wow, I wish every stage took 3 times as long. You waste your amazing life wishing it away for the next bit. Because happiness is not a destination you arrive at, it's the journey you're on. It's an inside job. Do not farm out, I'll be happy when, because there is no terminal to get to called happiness. Happiness is the journey you're on now. Perfectionists come in all shapes and sizes, and they're often very good at hiding their inner drive to be perfect. There's one thing that drives them all, an inner belief that says, I'm not enough, I'm less than. If I'm less than, and I can come across as perfect, I'll be more than. You know, my neighbors always say to me, wow, you have so many famous clients. Are they damaged by fame? I'm like, no, actually no. Damaged people are attracted to fame. They have a belief I'm so damaged, but if I'm famous, rich, gorgeous, amazing, I'll be perfect. But you see what happens when damaged people try to be perfect. It actually damages them more. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be flawless. You don't need to be infallible. You just need to be enough. And when you let the fact in that you are enough, instead of trying so hard to be perfect, which you can never achieve, when you let in being enough, changes your life. So let it in that you're enough right now, because that's the truth about you.
People think the brain's really complicated. It's not. It's actually quite simple. You only need to know 3 things about your brain to always get what you want. And the first thing is your brain does exactly what it thinks you want it to do, because it listens to everything you say. So when you say things like, oh God, you know, I got dumped, it was so painful, I never want to go through that again, all your mind can pick up is you don't want to be in a relationship again. When people have a miscarriage and go, I could never go through that again, I'd rather die than go through that again, your mind is picking up, oh right, well that's a statement, that's actually a command to me to make sure you never go through a miscarriage again, and that's how you get unexplained infertility, which is something else I've been working on a lot recently. Because the mind listens to what you say. So people go, oh, I went on this flight, I thought I was going to die. And during they go, I'm never getting on a plane. If this plane lands, I will never, ever get on a plane again. And of course it lands, they go, oh, it was just turbulence. But next time they go to the airport, they have a massive panic attack because your mind's like, hang on a minute, you said I never want to fly again. And so if you haven't got what you want, it's because you're giving your mind very confusing messages. Your mind's number one job is to listen to what you say and to act on it. Its second job is to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And it will always, always, always do more to avoid pain. So let's imagine you've gone for an interview, you've done a public speech thing like me, and you've stood up, and you've gone, and you think, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. And you'd have a terrible presentation. And one of my clients who worked for Sony was saying that she had to stand up and just say to Sony, this is a new band from Camden. And she stood up and went, this is a new band from, and they're called, she said, I couldn't do it. It was the simplest thing. And my boss had to take over
And I was explaining to her that when you do that and go, oh my God, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do this again, your mind is now going to make sure you don't do it again. So the next time you go to speak, it will give you a panic attack, it will make you ill. And if you say to yourself, oh my God, I'd love a week off in bed, or I'm dreading next Wednesday, your mind is so in tune with you, you're a week off in bed, you wake up with the flu, and your mind's like, there you go, how cool am I? There's your week in bed. You don't want to go to that speech? I've woken you up with diarrhea, so now you can't go. That's what the mind does. When I was giving my first ever presentation about my first ever book, I woke up with the most excruciating migraine. I've never had one before. I thought, wow, I must have been saying to myself somewhere, I don't want to do this because I've got this migraine. And I actually went and did it, and I didn't have the migraine until I stepped back off the stage again. And I realized that I was communicating very badly with myself. So you must never say nervous, say excited, because your mind listens. So those three things are, your mind does what it really thinks you want to do. If you're very, very specific and say, I want this and this, I want to be a great speaker, I want to deliver things, I want to be fantastic at sales, I want to be able to look people in the eye and sell them things and come across as really authentic, your mind will understand. And if you make those pictures really good and pleasant, you'll move towards them. When there is a battle between logic and emotion, emotion always wins. How many of you have gone to a really high building, an enclosed building like the top story of a hotel or the CN Tower in Toronto, and looked down and thought, oh, wow, I feel really scared. My logic mind knows that I'm safe, that the glass is that thick, that I can't fall, but the emotion that's making my stomach lurch is winning. So when you have a battle between emotion and logic, emotion always wins. Here's something you all know. We can all ring our friend up and go, I'm a bit bored, a bit lonely. Can I hang out? Or I'm a bit bored, let's go to the movie. You would never ring someone you've just met and go, I'm bored and lonely. Will you come and hang out with me? Let's go to the movie. Because the emotion that you might be rejected will overrule the logic that says this person may be the person for me. So if you're having a battle between yourself, here's a great one. I know I shouldn't eat cake. That's the logic. But the emotion is, oh, the cake feels so good, and this creamy, sugary stuff reminds me of being a baby when all my needs were met by having creamy, sugary stuff. So in a battle between emotion and logic, logic will never win. Emotion will always win. And you can make that win for you by making it a better emotion. So here's how to do it. Here's an emotion. I'm scared to ask for a pay rise in case my boss laughs me out of the office. Make it a stronger emotion. If I go to my boss and show them what I've done, how valuable I am, that won't happen. Here's an emotion. I really want to ask that person on a date. I'm not good enough. Change the emotion. I'm wonderful, I'm amazing. What could I get from asking someone on a date that says yes? So much. And if they say no, I'm only exactly where I was before, except I've been brave. I've done something courageous. I've taken action. Even if it doesn't work out, I've lost nothing, but I've gained courage. So when you're having a battle between logic and emotion, emotion always wins, logic never wins. That's why you could stand on the windowsill of your apartment if it was on the ground floor, but you would never stand on the windowsill same size if it was 100 stories up, because the emotion that you may fall will defeat the logic that says, I can do this when it's a few feet off the ground. Why can't I do it up here? Because emotion overrules logic. You can make your life phenomenal, extraordinary, and wonderful by always using emotion to defeat emotion. Every baby on the world is born loaded with self-esteem. No baby, when they're being pushed down the street in their stroller, goes, oh, don't look at me, I'm having a bad hair day, or I've just been sick on my little romper suit, or I've got really fat legs. Babies' first experience on the planet is being looked at. When you're born, the doctor, the nurse, the midwife look at you. Family come to visit you. You get your picture taken. People show you off. And babies don't avert their eyes when you take their picture. When I used to push my little girl down the street, we would look in her pram and go, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. She never looked away. She kicked her little legs. She gave a big gummy smile because she knew that she was gorgeous too. And if you ever doubt that children like attention, go to a park, go to a swimming pool, and you hear every child going, Mummy, Mummy, look at me on the swing. Daddy, watch me on the slide. Mummy, Mummy, watch me jump in the water, watch me swim, watch me jump. Because children have this belief that I'm worthy of attention and I like it and I can ask for it and I'll get it. And then you have to ask, well, where does that go? Well, it goes very fast. You know, if I said to my little girl at 2, sing me, Mummy, a song, she would sing. If I said to her at 14, sing me a song, she'd roll her eyes and go, oh my God, you're so embarrassing, and walk out of the room. Because at a very early age, we acquire a fear of being judged. It's what is called performance anxiety. What if I sing and someone laughs at me? What if I read in class and I get it wrong? What if I stand up to speak and I don't know what to say? And performance anxiety can be so intense that it makes us stop performing. But people who perform really well like themselves. They go, well, I'll see what happens, and I'll sing, I'll dance, I'll act. I mean, some people can't even dance at a party in case everyone is looking at them and judging them badly. Some of my clients won't even go to yoga in case they can't hold the poses like everyone else. And believe me, we're all so busy worrying about ourselves. We don't have time to look at you and comment on your yoga position or how you're dancing at a party. And we kind of like people who don't care, who just let go and have a good time. So the thing you need to have phenomenal confidence really are 2 things. Stop judging yourself and be nice to yourself. Here's my advice to you. Expect amazing things then. If what is expected tends to be realized, expect the best. Expect love and success and an amazing life, because you know what? It will probably be realized really fast if you expect it.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Marisa Peer, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
So whatever you want, you must link massive pleasure to what you want. I don't love it, but I love having a 6-pack. I'm choosing to say no to Krispy Kreme donuts and yes to apples.